Hi, this is Carl, and what I want to talk about in this particular video is the use of mnemonics, or memory aids as they're sometimes known, in the teaching and learning of modern foreign languages. And mnemonics tend to be short statements, usually written in the mother tongue, in my case English, which we can use as learners and also as teachers to learn new words, isolated pieces of vocabulary in new modern foreign languages, whichever language it is that we might be studying. And mnemonics come in many different forms, which I'll not talk about to all that much of an extent in this video, but what I do want to talk about is the particular type of mnemonic which I use to teach pieces of vocabulary in the modern foreign languages which I tutor in. Now, here's an example. We take a mnemonic which is written or which is spoken completely in English, and we take a foreign word. So let's take as an example aquí, the Spanish word aquí, spelled A-Q-U-I, which means here. Now the first thing to do is to ensure that the sound of the foreign word also exists in English. So with aquí, we have in English, with an English pronunciation, a key. In other words, the thing used to open the door. A, K-E-Y, in writing, has the same sound as the Spanish word spelt A-Q-U-I, aquí. So aquí is incorporated into the mnemonic as the English aquí, and at the same time we also have the translation of the word aquí in the mnemonic as well. So in order to be able to remember that aquí translates into English as here, we have here, that's the translation, is aquí, the same sound as aquí. And just to take one more example, if we consider the instruction come, as in come here, then we have the translation into Spanish ben, or ben, spelled V-E-N, which has the same sound as the boy's Christian name Ben, V-E-N. So Ben is incorporated into the mnemonic, in other words the boy's Christian name, and we also have to ensure that we have the English translation of Ben within that same mnemonic, in other words come. So the mnemonic in this case is come here Ben, or Ben, come here. And I've put together a range of different mnemonics which can help you to remember different pieces of vocabulary in Spanish in that particular way, and I'll actually put together a second part to this video to give you a range of examples which can help you to learn different pieces of vocabulary in the Spanish language. Now, just to conclude this particular video, I just want to speak more broadly about mnemonics and just the reputation which they tend to have amongst foreign language learners. Now, I've always found that while mnemonics have interested me as far as teaching is concerned, where the learning of a modern foreign language is concerned, I've never really made all that much use of mnemonics. And speaking to the people who I teach as well, they've also made similar remarks. And it's quite understandable, because mnemonics, helping you to remember isolated pieces of vocabulary, only have a limited use in terms of helping us to achieve the goals as modern foreign language learners. And the main goal is obviously to achieve oral linguistic proficiency, to be able to speak the language, to be able to be fluid in putting words together, to make full sentences, to be able to have conversations. And the learning of isolated pieces of vocabulary within sentences is only a minimal part of our learning endeavour, in a way. And many people will look upon mnemonics as being cheesy. They will often groan if a teacher mentions, okay, now we're going to look at a range of different mnemonics which can help you to remember pieces of vocabulary. And I think one of the reasons why people respond in this manner is the fact that the majority of mnemonics aren't always that necessarily useful, and there are some which exist, which are out there, which are rather ambiguous, which are rather obscure, and therefore this might explain the reason as to why we're a little bit negative towards the teaching of mnemonics. And I just want to give you one example. If you have ever used the Polish Foundation course of the Michel Thomas series, released posthumously after the death of Michel Thomas in 2005, the teacher, who is a native speaker of Polish, will tell you that the Polish verb infinitive, zaczynać, translates into English as to start or to begin. Now, zaczynać obviously as a sound doesn't exist in English, and it's very difficult, in addition to that, to actually incorporate the meaning of to begin within a mnemonic, because as I've just said, zaczynać doesn't exist as a sound in English. And so the teacher has to refer and come up with, invent a mnemonic which is rather obscure. And what she does is she takes the letters within zaczynać, the first one being Z-A-C, and changes that into Zak, the sound Zak, the boy's Christian name Zak, and changes the sound of ach into ig. So we're not only splitting up the word, because we're not able to make use of a sound in Polish which also exists in English, but we're breaking down the word, and we're also changing the sounds of the syllables which we're trying to actually cut off out of the word, so we can get a mnemonic into English. And that is a rather obscure way of doing it. So I think as long as we focus on mnemonics whereby we have the mnemonic in English, and we can have the translation of the word we're trying to remember, we have the foreign word having a same sound or an identical or near to identical sound in English, then that will help the learning of the vocabulary to be much easier. So I think we need to be more open-minded as regards the fact that certain mnemonics do exist which can help us to learn, but at the same time it's understandable that people do have a generally negative attitude towards mnemonics because of the cheesy and rather obscure way in which the majority of them are taught to learners.